He and his son met a violent end in broad daylight, dying in a hail of bullets. As the liquidator in several high-profile cases, including those linked to state capture, Cloete Murray had a target on his back.
He was working closely with his son Thomas, who was the first to die in the brazen assassination. Bongani, who conducted what would be Cloete's final TV interview last year, has the story.
The 18th of March, 2023. A hot, late summer afternoon in Gauteng. Cloete Murray, the liquidator known for winding up some of the country's biggest state capture cases amongst many other multi-million rand matters, was driving northwards with his son Thomas. Then came chaos. Just beyond the new road off-ramp in Midrand, assassins let loose their violence. An assault rifle aimed directly at Murray and his son.
This was done with precision and expertise. These assassins don't miss. 9 bullets pummeled the car, with the final shots penetrating the driver's headrest. The brutality of it all, unspeakable.
The vehicle eventually came to a standstill about 50 meters from the bridge. Thomas Murray died on the scene. His father succumbed to the bullets a few hours later in hospital. The hit has sent shockwaves through the legal and insolvency fraternity. Most retreated into their fear. Few were prepared to speak out.
I think that the entire industry is in shock at the moment. Are we at a point in this country where the law no longer matters? Because the people who try to enforce the law, them and their families, are now personal targets.
In April 2022, we spoke to attorney John Walker. His clients, Christine Rousseau and Tessie Besadenhout, were both senior officials at the Master's Office that oversees liquidations and deceased estates. They had appointed Cloete to the liquidation of Bosasa, an infamous company enmeshed in state capture. That decision cost them their reputations and their jobs when the Justice Department suspended them.
So the masters that appointed Murray as a liquidator, they're out of the way. Now he's out of the way.
That's where we are. That's where we are now.
Bosasa may not be the reason for his death, but it's no secret the directors wanted Cloete Murray off the case. The television interview we conducted with Murray was his last.
Is state capture over?
No, most certainly not. People often think that now that the Zondo Commission has a report, that these people will just go away. They won't. They're fighting. There's most certainly still some residual evidence of state capture in the system.
Attempts to remove Murray from the Bosasa liquidation went right up to the Supreme Court of Appeal. But the court found Cloete Murray stays.
I am known to be an astute liquidator. I investigate matters properly. And I think I probably asked the wrong questions.
Also in Murray's portfolio was the liquidation of Trillion, another controversial company responsible for looting millions from Eskom and Transnet.
It's going to take a number of years to investigate all of these matters. But ultimately, we as a country need to deal with this. We can fight it, but it's not over on any stretch of the imagination.
So would you say that the more you dig, the more powerful or connected individuals possibly stand to lose?
Yes. And if people benefited from corruption, there's a very good likelihood that that would come out in the 417 inquiry.
A 417 inquiry is a legal process for liquidators to probe the affairs of the company, establish director liability, and recover money.
So who would want Cloete Murray out of the way? Well, as one source said to us, take a ticket and stand in line. Over a long career, he had made some very powerful enemies.
I asked Cloete Murray this question. Often politicians and connected people will give a defense. They'll say, where is the smoking gun? It's clear now that he had a lot of smoking guns.
Not only that, bearing in mind that the 417 inquiry is really a powerful tool. You, as a witness, you're forced to answer all questions, even questions that incriminate you. If you are subpoenaed to a 417, you are laid bare. Your transactions are laid bare. Everything that you've done, every cent you've received, they want to know why you received it. And if you didn't get it lawfully, then you must pay it back.
As the 417 on Bosasa continued, the former acting chief master, Tessie Besadenhout, spent the year in a legal battle with the Department of Justice, with the aim of getting her job back here at the master's office. Before he died, according to Walker, Murray called her.
Clute contacted us last week on Tuesday. He indicated that he was about to finish or proceed with the Section 417 inquiry. Well, his words were he was on the cusp of subpoenaing various prominent politicians to come and testify at that inquiry.
Was he able to indicate to you and Tessie who those prominent people were?
Yes, he did, but you must excuse me, with his murder, I'm not at liberty to divulge that.
Is it about his...
It's members of cabinet. In certain instances, it's high-ranking, very, very high-ranking government officials.
The police were back at the crime scene on Wednesday. If they have any clues, they aren't saying. But exposed in this shocking recording leaked to us is that Clute Murray's death came as no surprise. Karen Kiwi, recorded here, is talking to a fellow liquidator.
Dit is nie die regte manier nie, dit is nie hoe mense dinge uitsorteer nie. Dit werk nie so nie.
Partykeer is dit die enigste manier. Dit was 'n kwessie van tyd. En ons almal het dit geweet.
She criticizes Clute for winding down Bosasa too quickly when there were lucrative fees to be made.
Jy kan daai ding ran vir 3 jaar. Terwyl die 417 aangaan terwyl is. Imagine die fooie wat jy daai kan maak. Maar nee. Besluit, wil jy 'n China shop houding? Jy weet, dit herinner my aan apartheid mense, nie? Die Afrikaners, die mans wat in beheer was van die land. It reminds me of that.
But most chilling, she implies she has information about Clute's killers.
Okay. Dit was nie die ANC nie. Dit was nie die Bosasa nie, dit was nie die Guptas nie. Hulle sou tog nie wonder wat hulle gaan doen. Wat ons mense. Die skieter was 'n wit mens. Die instructor was 'n wit mens.
When we contacted Karen Kiwi on Friday evening, she blamed alcohol for her comments and said her conversation was just her opinion and she has no evidence to back up her claims.
John Walker, I moet seker maak hy's veilig.
Well, John has upped his security, especially after receiving a disappearing warning on a messaging app simply saying, one by one.
As in, we're going to get you?
It doesn't say any. I have to probably make my own conclusions. I thought it was a prank. I don't know what to read in it. This was Saturday evening. This is before I even found out about Clute's murder. But,
John, that says you're next.
You know, my mind says to me, it's not a movie. It's ridiculous. You know, I don't want me to be the center of this thing.
Tessie Besadenhout and Christine Rousseau have not given up their fight for justice. They believe they were wrongfully suspended, but they too are now wary and nervous.
Do you believe you're a target?
I have fears, yes.
And not without reason. She alleges the lawyer acting against her on behalf of the department sent her a link to the news of Clute's murder.
There was nothing said. It was just the link.
This is the lawyer for the opposing side?
Yes. So it would be unethical of him to communicate with me without my attorney's permission.
Saying, have a look at how this guy died?
Yes.
How do you sleep after that?
You sleep with your one eye open.
You'll remember the last time I spoke to you. I said to you that the only people that still investigate corporate fraud are liquidators. Their job is to recover the monies that were unlawfully siphoned off. And we're talking hundreds of millions of rands.
Several sources have suggested to us the new acting master is making arbitrary appointments of liquidators in matters that are years old, simply so they can benefit from the fees.
Is the master's office right now captured?
In my view, absolutely. You now have arbitrary appointment of liquidators in estates that have been going for years. No reasons are given. Klute himself was removed from an estate by the Pretoria Master's Office without any reasons being given.
So is state capture at play at the Master's Office? And who will step into the breach in place of Klute Murray? And as the list of assassinations grows longer, will his killers ever be brought to book? The early signs, though, aren't good. Investigative journalist Kyle Cowan found this file of an important case Klute and Thomas were working on in their bullet-riddled car, a sign the police investigation has already been bungled.
Fearless, respected and forever silenced, liquidator Klute Murray and his son Thomas died in an ambush on Gauteng's N1 highway last weekend. Before the break, we heard from some of the people who knew them best. Many are anxious that other assassinations may follow. For more on the impact of these murders, I'm joined in studio by the story's producer, Joy Summers, and co-founder of Daily Maverick's Our Burning Planet division and investigative journalist, Kevin Bloom. Thank you to you both for joining us this evening. Joy, Klute Murray worked on high-profile cases, including Bosasa. What is the link to the Master's Office?
Well, I think the important thing to understand is that if you control the Master's Office, you control the liquidator. And Klute Murray was a hard-nosed, uncompromising liquidator. The Master's Office, if that is captured and you then have friendly liquidators, then you don't investigate financial crime in the way that you should.
So the likes of Klute Murray are very, very necessary for that we can prosecute financial crimes.
A good liquidator, certainly, an uncompromising, ethical liquidator, backed up by the important institution of the Master's Office, is absolutely imperative in dealing with financial crime. And we have a problem with dealing with financial crime. Part of the reason is that is why we were grey-listed, actually.
Kevin, it's often said that it's unhelpful to speculate, but in this case, it's hard not to put two and two together.
I would say in this case it is hard to put two and two together. There's amazing investigative work that's being done by Cal Cowan at News 24 here, and he's moving very quickly, and he's put out three very important pieces in a week so that this case doesn't go cold. But it's difficult to put two and two together because Kyle has told us what was in that file in the footwell. And the names in that file don't point to perpetrators of state capture. Now, the question is, since the NPA, and this is a prosecutor-led investigation, so the NPA is working very closely with SAPS and with the Hawks in trying to hone in on who the perpetrators are. But it could be, because the NPA and the Hawks are already bungling the case, that file was left there as a red herring. My question is, who has that 417 inquiry? We don't have it at Daily Maverick. I have no way of knowing whether News 24 has it. But the way I see it, who should have it now? Because the Master's Office is clearly captured. Yeah. So does the SIU have it? Because there are a whole range of presidential proclamations when it comes to state-owned enterprises that would say the SIU should have this.
Yeah.
And there's one other, I mean, there are many, many questions, but, you know, I can't help thinking about a statement that Musi Maimane put out in December 2018, I think it was, when he was still the leader of the DA. And he pointed to the fact that the lawyer who had facilitated the 500,000 Rand payment to the CR17 campaign
Sure.
He worked for a group of lawyers, and he was in charge of the trust, but he used to be a director at Trillion Capital.
There's lots to unpack here as well. But when you look at, I mean, your last story that you did, Joy, where you did speak to Cloete Murray, and he said that, you know, it didn't seem that he felt that there was a threat to his life, you know. And sometimes when you have a whistleblower like that, or somebody who's doing their work like that, it puts a target on their back. Do we think that there could be even more than one target, as Kevin is alluding to?
Well, I think if you look at the number of cases, high-profile state capture cases, private cases that he was busy with, and just to pick up on what Kevin was saying, one of those liquidations that he was busy with was Trillion. So it could really, he's right, it could be any number of different cases, but I do think one has to look at the 417. We know that Cloete Murray phoned Tessie Bezuidenhout. What did he tell her? Who were those politicians that he's mentioning? We need to go and have a look at that. The police need to go and have a look at that. The question is, in this climate, in South Africa, will they?
Speaking of the climate, I mean, watching that insert, you can just see the fear. For me, just seeing the body language of people who you interviewed. What's the atmosphere like in the liquidation sector right now?
Well, I can tell you how much I battled just to get a liquidator to go on camera. And in fact, we didn't get one. They, as I say, they all retreated into their fear. People were terrified because suddenly they don't know if they go after these high-profile individuals, whoever they may be, are they next? Are their families next? And so this is a very, very important moment, because what does it mean for solving financial crime if liquidators are no longer going to go and ask, as Cloete Murray said, the difficult questions?
What does it mean, Kevin? I mean, we listened to John Walker. He had such a profound question in that insert where he says, are we at the point in this country where the law no longer matters? Would you say we're heading there or we're there?
In my experience as an investigative journalist, we're there. And I want to refer again to the fact that the SIU should be picking this up because the Master's Court is captured. The Master's Office is captured. In the big high-profile cases that we've been covering at Daily Maverick, I think of Peter Louis Myburg on Digital Vibes, no charges have been brought. I've been covering clear string of allegations and evidence linking our former deputy president to a land claim scam in Mpumalanga. And a major criminal complaint has been laid by the organisation Undoing Tax Abuse. I can't get an answer out of the NPA on the status of that, and it goes on and on and on.
I mean, you're also doing an investigation into corruption at Eskom as well.
Exactly.
And still, same scenario.
It's the same scenario. I mean, there's a serious chilling effect here.
Joy, the work that Cloete Murray was busy with, what happens to that? Who fills those enormous shoes?
I think that's the million-dollar question. Because as a liquidator, if you're going to go in now and ask those hard, tough questions, do you have the courage to do that? Who does that? What happens to their families? And perhaps that's exactly what these guys wanted, you know. So, as Cloete Murray says, then you just get a friendly liquidator and the matter just goes away.
So it seems that the environment is fertile and being created for friendly liquidators.
Kevin, maybe you can answer that. That certainly was one of Cloete Murray's concerns when we spoke to him last year, yeah?
Well, we can delve into this for a very long time. It's a very dark story. We expect there to be more developments, hopefully some arrests. Thank you to both of you for joining us in studio tonight. That's Carte Blanche senior producer Joy Summers and investigative journalist for Daily Maverick, Kevin Bloom. After the break, gangs and drugs and how cricket is combating both on the Cape Flats.
Thank you for watching our stories here online, and please subscribe below to become part of our YouTube community and be notified when we upload our latest content.